What up, Wizards? It's the Big D and don't mean Dallas. Kind of a weird one today because normally it's the job of the content creator on YouTube to be like, this is the new most broken deck in standard. But like every single video, is it more broken than the one you put out yesterday? Somehow, yes, every single day. But actually, we're going to do kind of the opposite of that today because it's also just as important to know what decks are garbage and crap, and you shouldn't actually waste your wild cards on them. That's probably the most important part, and you definitely shouldn't be building them in paper because they've got a lot of rares in them, and they still somehow suck. Now, during the early days of a season, I tend to throw a lot of noodles against the wall to see what's cooked, and a lot of them just bounce right off and hit the floor, but it doesn't matter. They're not going to get any nastier than they already were. I'd played with at least 3 decks already this season that just kind of ended up being soul-sucking experiences no matter what you play against, no matter what stupid plan they're on. They always get to do it. You never get to do your thing. It turns out your deck is just kind of bad, and you have to accept it. So I'm going to pass that information on to you today so you can know what decks not to play, and I'm going to have a lot of fun venting in the process. Let's look at 3 decks that are bad in OTJ standard. They're just the worst decks you can play. Don't play them. Now, the first heartbreaking piece of turd that belongs in a trash can outside the trash can factory is this stupid Jun Deserts deck that I tried to make right at the beginning of the season. That's kind of why I'm doing it first here, is because chronologically it was the first one to break my heart this season, and I haven't been able to quit it yet. I haven't deleted it because I know out there somewhere in a perfect world there's a good version of this deck that exists, maybe, at least in theory. You know, that's kind of why I'm making this video too, is because I'm open to suggestions. So hit me up in the comments section. Yes, I've tried the Rattle Worm. Now we can talk like adults. We were supposed to have it made with this deck too, baby. Look at it. It's an Aftermath Analyst deck. It's got the Splendid Reclamation on a stick. It's also got Splendid Reclamation. It's copies 5 through 8 of Splendid Reclamation, I guess. It's just the same effect over and over again. Nissa's in here for the ramp, baby. You got a little World Souls Rage to hit him over the top for a bunch of damage in their dumb domes. So a lot of stuff looking kind of familiar here, except it doesn't play Nuka Penlands. Instead, it plays these deserts that deal damage to the opponent when they come into play. So if you can Splendid for enough, if you can Analyst for enough, you're going to do a bunch of damage to them. But that's where things get a little bit wacky, right? There's a couple of ways to get lands into your yard in this deck. There's obviously Aftermath Analyst, which can just mill them, but you should probably play more things that mill us, because that's about it. We've got Pitiless Carnage in here. We saw a deck at the Pro Tour that was playing like Jund Analyst and using Pitiless Carnage to, you know, float mana, sacrifice all of its lands, right, and then draw like 20 cards, literally, like really realistically, like 12 cards. So you draw a third of your deck or more, and then you can do whatever you want. You plotted the card early, so you got mana floating at this point. You usually use the mana to cast Splendid Reclamation or Aftermath Analyst's ability, get a bunch more mana from Nissa, and just keep going with a refill from Pitiless Carnage. I was kind of hoping for the same thing here, and I have had a couple of games where I've been able to peel off some runs like that, like sacrifice 8 lands, get a bunch of mana, sacrifice some lands, get mana. But even if you're able to get back like 4 or 5 deserts at a time, it's always hard to close, even if you can pull off 2 or 3 of these loops. We've got Bloodletter of Aclazats in here to kind of help our mana or our lands do more damage, right? But we've also got a couple of copies of Rush of Dread. Not only is this like a semi-sweeper, especially if they only have like 3 creatures, get rid of 2/3 of your creatures is pretty good. But it also does stuff against control, makes them get rid of all the bad cards in their hand. Is usually what that reads, but at least you're getting them on card advantage. And then, of course, if you use the last mode and you have a Bloodletter out, you just win the game no matter what. So this is actually 2 wacky decks kind of shoved together, and we're going to make them kiss. So this is supposed to be able to just World Souls Rage them out of nowhere and kill them. It's supposed to be able to Splendid Reclamation a bunch of deserts into play and kill them that way. And it's supposed to be able to sacrifice a bunch of lands and then get them back with Splendid, kill you that way. It's supposed to be able to have Bloodletter in play, Rush of Dread, you're dead. So there's like 50 ways to kill people in this deck, and these never work. The deck is a prop knife, you know? Like, it looks really dangerous, but it doesn't do anything at all. We got Gix's Command in here as a sweeper that also like gets back our key creatures. Like, the deck looks so sweet. It's trash, you know. There's Go for the Throat in here, kind of some good removal, cover the early game, doesn't matter. It's bad. Pillage the Bog is in here. It's just the one of, but Pillage the Bog is in here to help us find good cards. If we have 10 lands in play, we get to look at 20 cards. That's not hard to do. So again, don't do it. The reason that this video is important again is because decks like this might look really sweet, and I know that there's going to be spikes looking at this deck like, it doesn't have like a good sweeper, and there's no way to cover the mid game, and it does like too many things, and it's not focused, and blah. But like, there's going to be a bunch more people who look at it like, Well, they've got the early removal, and there's enough creatures. The ramp is good. It's the same package we see in all the other decks, you know? It's got like 2 different combo wins in it. Like, maybe if you get the Gix's command, something will work. And I'm just here to tell all of those people, that whole crowd, that it's none of this is true. Those are all false statements, and actually this time the spikes who were like, this deck is pedestrian and stupid. They're actually like, they're right, and I'm sorry to inform you. The deck is bad, but again, super open to suggestions on stuff like this because I want a deck like this to be good. Maybe we need more deserts that do damage. I'm not really sure, but one way or the other, the deck is trash. Maybe Undead Butler, like something else that mills us to get lands into the graveyard. Like, but then what do you take out? Do you just take out the Bloodletter? It works with the deserts, you know? It's just pretty tempting. It works with World Soul's Rage too, so you can just World Soul them for 10 and then they die if they're at 20 and you have a Bloodletter in place. So like, all these things are too tempting to cut from the deck. So I'm not really sure what to tell you, and I'm not sure what you're going to tell me, but it's bad. Don't try it. Don't. I know. I look at. They're all sweet cards, right? Don't do it. I'm gonna take it away from you right now because it's too tempting. All these decks are kind of like that, actually. Like, let's look at Bloodletter next. It's another Bloodletter deck. Can you guys tell that I want this card to be a really good Magic card, and it's just like kind of. It's not as good as I want it to be. You know how that works with Magic cards, but this is another one that has like a couple of new cards that I really wanted to try in the deck. And that it's still so bad. You know, like Archmage's Nude is in here. Let's get to that in a second. Now, in case you haven't seen this in Standard yet, oh my god, this Bloodletter of Akazat's and Mindlink Mech are actually a pretty good little 1-2 like 3-4 on curve punch, because if you cast Mindlink Mech on 3, Bloodletter on 4, they take like a billion. I forgot what the math is, like 16 damage or something. They take ridiculous. Yeah, it is 16 because they take 4, they take 8, they take 16. So it's pretty stupid what you're doing if you can actually get that on curve. But here's the problem, right? You won't. And like Mindlink is almost unkillable. Like it can't be cut down. It can't be go for the throated. You know, there's a lot of stuff that misses this card. And if you can just resolve Bloodletter, it kind of doesn't matter if they can kill the Bloodletter. Mindlink Mech is still a Bloodletter, so it still flies over for at least 8. You get 1 turn where you're doing good stuff, but it just never lines up. It never does, and that's why I was kind of excited to get Archmage's Nude, or Archmage's Nude, whatever. Because I thought it might be a really interesting addition to the deck, because you can play it on 2, and then on 3, Mindlink Mech, and then on 4, start getting in, right? So it doesn't even matter if you have something to saddle up the Mindlink once it becomes an Archmage's Nude. Which there is stuff in the deck that can saddle it. It's not a whole lot. You have to like put counters on creatures with Gix's command and stuff like that. So we could have more ways of saddling up Mindlink and Archmage's Nude. But sometimes it takes 2 creatures. It takes 2 creatures. Dang it. So, but still, Mindlink Mech becoming Archmage's Nude is potentially great even if you can't saddle it up. You just recast Removal, or maybe even recast Rush of Dread and Memory Deluge. These are doable things. Tishana's Tidebinder, I guess that can saddle. Maybe we need more of that in the main deck. That's why it's terrible. But because Tidebinder's been good. It's always good. But still, it's been bad altogether. Even when you can get the mech like saddled up properly and cast the spell for free out of your yard, it's still just like such trash. And it doesn't work with Rush of Dread the way you want it to. Yes, this deck also has the Bloodletter Rush of Dread combo because I figured, you know, I'm already playing Bloodletter. I might as well play Rush of Dread. So, yeah, it doesn't really work the way you want it to. The best thing I can say about this deck is that sometimes it plays kind of like a control build for a few turns where, like, cut down your guy, go for the throat your guy, shoot the Sheriff, Deep Cavern Bat, the best card out of your hand, negate that dude, Fairy Mastermind at end of turn, you know? It does all of these things, and it can Memory Deluge end of turn, wait till it gets to Gix's command, hit the board hot, you know, and then just start playing creatures. And, like, all these are kind of good modes of play, so the deck is relatively versatile, and a little bit better than the first deck we looked at, because that deck is just non-functional, but this one definitely still needs a shot before, like a shot in the arm, you know, something better or just a better build than this before I can really recommend it to anyone. You know, this kind of falls in the middle as far as like decks that I've been disappointed by this season, which is why it's in the dead middle of this video, but it's also to tell you not to play it. Mindlink Mech is really fun with like double strikers and stuff like that, but I just can't make it good. And moreover, I just can't make Archmage's Newt good. I feel like if we took Archmage's Newt out and put almost any other creature into the deck, Tenacious Underdog or something. He would instantly be much better. Like, it might even be better as Vadrock or something, the guy that, like, gets bigger when you commit crimes. Like, he's okay. So, all I'm saying is this is probably not the build of this deck, but we are getting a little bit warmer in terms of, like, stuff you might want to be doing in the format. But just, like, taking Archmage's Newt out, like, taking the new hot card that you wanted to try the deck again because of this card out, is probably the best thing for the deck. Just like that, taking Mindlink Mech out is probably the best thing for the deck, too. Just play, like, blue-black Bloodletter Rush of Dread combo, control them out of the game until you can get it placed. Like, that's probably the better thing to do. And then, sadly, the better thing to do besides that is just take Rush of Dread and Bloodletter of Acklezotz out of the deck entirely, and now you're blue-black control, which is just a superior deck. And if you're going to do that, just play blue-white or Esper. Like, it gets really sad really fast. When you think about all the other options you could be doing instead of the fun jank you want to be doing, it's all just like much, much better than this. But I still have some belief in my heart for this deck. It is still real to me, damn it. And I want to keep trying it, which is again why I haven't deleted this one. But if you have any suggestions, I'm more than open to them. But I'm mostly here to tell you not to do it to yourself. Last but could be least, it's entirely possible, is this Bant Legends deck. We got legs. I don't know if we know how to use them. I have left this deck pretty poorly constructed on purpose so that you learn from my mistakes. Again, sometimes I think that's important. This deck is not great, and we're going to talk about why. And I think that this deck could be easily improved, which again is maybe why I made the deck last, is because this is the one I want input on the absolute most. But I also think it's maybe the one that's the closest to being an actual thing. That said, it's also the one that I've gotten beaten the hardest in the mouth with, right? This is the one where people will take me by my ankles and do a full 180-degree arc above their head and slam me into the ground on the other side of them. And then they'll do that again, just the opposite of that, back the other direction. And they'll do that as many times as it takes to knock me completely out. And that's basically my experience with this deck, if that made any sense whatsoever. It's just not been a great deck. My basic idea here was Kellen Joins Up isn't such a bad card. Well, sometimes you got to learn those lessons too, you know. It's not a very good card either. I'm not sure you're actually going to be able to read the entire thing on your screen right now. So the basic idea behind this card is that it costs 3 mana, and when it ETBs, you exile a non-land with mana value 3 or less from your hand, and then it becomes plotted. It's a plotted card. Then whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that you control. So we're doing Bant Legends, everybody. We've also got Kellen the Kid here, which can read, but it's also brand new, so I might as well tell you that it's 3 mana for a 3/3 flying lifelink dude. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying that spell's mana cost. If you don't, you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield instead. So kind of interesting. You've got a way to just explode onto the table if you say Kellen Joins Up on turn 3. You know, put any card in the entire deck that's a legendary creature up under the Kellen Joins Up, or, you know, just plot it. Next turn, spend your mana on Kellen the Kid, right? Go ahead and get that down. That also triggers the Kellen Joins Up, so Kellen the Kid will become a 4/4 flying lifelink. It's not bad. Little 4/4 flying lifelink for 3 mana. But you also then get to play whatever creature that you plotted with this card. And when you do that, not only will you get, you know, +1/+1 on all your guys again, including the thing you just played, but also Kellen the Kid will trigger and you'll be able to drop something else from your hand. And if that's a legendary creature, then all your guys get +1/+1 counters again. So you can just have this ludicrous turn 4, or at least it's possible. Maybe the problem is actually in the rest of the soup and not like the main ingredients, because I really want this to kind of be a humans deck so that we can play like Cavern of Souls in here. But I also, and we can play Catilda too. I think it's kind of an important card. Problem is, also think this deck needs Slogger, baby, because, you know, Slogger, we're playing channel lands, and we're already playing so many humans, or so many legends in the deck, that all the channel lands are going to cost nothing to channel. It's really, really good with Slogger. So, you know, let's sneak in a non-human. Why don't we sneak an Ooze in here? The secret is the Ooze, not the secret of the Ooze. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Now, the secret is the Ooze. No, it's bad. It's just kind of, it's not very good. Catilda into a Slogurk is just like the word. You feel so bad. It's not a good curve. My vision for this deck, if you want me to be as pretentious as possible, I know you do. For the sake of comedy, right? It's comedy, is that I wanted this deck to kind of be, like, a mix of Don't Laugh, Esper, and Kellen the Kid. and Slowgurk decks. You see, as far as Esper decks go, we get 3 No More Lies, okay? We get Destroy Evil, we get Lost, so we get like a pretty decent removal package like Esper, and we get like the 2-mana counterspell the same way Esper does. We get to play problematic creatures on turn 3, like Slowgurk and killing the Kid. Our turn 3 play is the thing that's going to set us up for the rest of the game, give us a really good turn 3 and 4. That's Kellen joins up. We play it on 3. We have an amazing turn 4 if we set things up correctly, right? So I wanted, in those ways, this deck to be a little bit like Esper. Play one of the better creatures in the format that you can play every turn of the game. Start on turn 2 with Dinnick, and then you play like the Gray to take their play away, or Slowgurk to start getting your loops going, or Kellen just to have a well-statted creature with good, keyword abilities. And you just kind of take it from there the way Esper would, but it does not work like that in practice, And I wanted it to be like Slowgurk. If we can get a Slowgurk down in the late game, and then kind of catch him, in these loops, then we can just Otara, return the Slowgurk to our hand, Otara, get in with the rest of our guys, attack. So, like, these things could potentially happen. There's a world out there where with our Slowgurk in play and a Kellen joins up in play, we play 2 creatures. Suddenly we put counters on our Slowgurk with Kellen joins up, and we can like return the Slowgurk to our hand to get an Aganjo and a Boseiju and an Otaro back, start doing business that way, and just evil stuff. But it just never gets to that point in the game. It doesn't know if it wants to get them or be like a more kind of Slowgurky, right, mid-range, gain value until the late game when you can do busted stuff. Does it want Rona? Does it want Relic of Legends? Is it more of a Slowgurk deck in that way? Does it actually want to take out the Slowgurk so that it can put in more humans? Another reason you want to take out the Slowgurk is because you're playing Dinnick, and cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. So when a Slowgurk dies, you have a Dinnick on the table, you can't get back channel lands, and that's so stupid. So like, there are some like real issues with this deck, but I have enjoyed, Catilda being able to make a lot of mana in this deck and kind of help keep those Slowgurk loops going some of the time, mana-wise. Malira to protect important creatures has been a nice little addition, and it's a watch wolf if nothing else. Lauren is really sweet. We get to play 1 copy of Cosmic Rebirth in this deck because like all of our important cards are mana value 3 or less, so we just throw them on the table, gain some life, feeling good. Tristani in here to give our, trampling Slowgurk double strike when it gets huge. Just a 1-up. King Darien to take advantage of all of our mana. We can just like make dudes if we want to. Anthem effect all of our guys. Make all of our creatures or tokens. That's the word I'm looking for. Safe till end of turn. We've got a removal spell in Lagrea to go with all of our cool removal spells over here. And we get to like counter Sunfalls with No More Lies. Rite of Harmony, just a 1-up because it goes really well with the Kellen joins up, Kellen the Kid plan, right? Because we can drop a free thing off Kellen the joins up, then we draw a card off Rite of Harmony with mana open. If we have Kellen the Kid out, then we can throw a free creature down and draw more cards with Rite of Harmony. So like, again, you can tell that I'm getting excited talking about this deck, and it's the one that I've already talked about for the longest because there's so many lines that make sense. And it is trash. It is absolute stinky garbage. The deck smells worse than my puppy, and like, he smells like corn chips all the time. He smells like corn chips and dog and poop. And like this, somehow in the running for like stankiest thing of the year with an A. It's just really, again, maybe I'm just clinging so hard to it because I need some sort of work on it. Maybe I should just forsake the Slowgurk idea. That'll free up some slots in the land base too, and we can play some humans. It doesn't want to be a Thalia deck because we play, No More Lies, Get Lost, Destroy Evil, Cosmic Rebirth. Kellen joins up, obviously. So Thalia into a turn 3 Kellen joins up would feel really bad because you can't actually do that. So I know Thalia is a thing people might suggest, but no, probably. So I don't know. I really want this deck to be sick, but it's infirm, in other words. And I really don't like that. But all these decks that I'm showing you today are decks that I had high hopes for today, and I know that we can all identify with that, if nothing else. We've all had things that we spent wildcards on and had all these cool lines in them and stuff, and like 5 different ways to beat the opponent, like out of nowhere, and just doesn't happen. You curve out correctly, you just get to play the best Magic of your life, and it just never happens. And these are decks that I kind of want to warn you off if you were thinking about making them, and if you've already made them and you have similar experience to me, we can commiserate down there in the comments. And even better, if you've made any of these decks and you're beating everyone on Arena in the world, that you're like 15-0 or something, 36-0, like everyone in the comments section says they are, then let us know your secret jutsus down there in the comments section. We all want to know. That's maybe the most important, the whole important part of the whole thing. But aside from that, I am going to be giving you some super good content very soon, everybody. Me and Power Dragon are getting together on Friday, I believe, to record the top 10 cards we want to rotate the most, the cards we can't wait to see rotate. So that's going to be a fun little one. And then we got a whole bunch more content after that. So stick with the channel, sub to the sandwich if you haven't done it yet. And of course, like the video, do all the YouTube stuff, helps a lot. You can check out the Patreon as well. To just put $1 in the Patreon pot every month, and just that $1 helps us do so much around here on the channel. You have no idea, man. So really, I want to, keep being a YouTube guy. So Patreon helps out the most with that. Get over and help us if you want to. But, I'm just glad that you're here if you're still here. You made it to this point of the video. That's incredible. Now all I got to tell you is that it's Allski Kowalski and a bevy of other catchphrases, but they're all very important. And they all mean something, especially the last one. I am Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.